a tutor for the Dalai Lama. As I walked through the empty garden and pushed back the great bolts, I could hardly realize that I had just spent 5 hours with the God King of Tibet. I rode slowly back to the Lhasa and but for the bundle of cakes which I was carrying, I would have thought that it would all was a dream. Which of my friends would have believed me if I had told him that I had just spent several hours alone in conversation with the Dalai Lama? Needless to say, I was very happy in the new duties. To instruct this clever lad of 14, the ruler of a land as big as France, Spain, and Germany put together in the knowledge and science of the Western world, seemed a worthwhile task, to say the least. On the same evening, I looked up some reviews which contained details of the construction of jet planes about which my young pupil had that day asked me questions to which I did not know the answers. I had promised to give him full explanations at our next meeting. As time went on, I was also prepared the materials for our lessons, as I wanted to introduce some system into the instruction of this zealous student. I had many setbacks on account of his insatiable curiosity, which drove him to ask me questions that opened up whole new regions. Many of these questions I could answer only to the best of my lights. My life in Lhasa had now begun a new phase. My existence had an aim. I no longer felt unsatisfied or incomplete. I did not abandon my former duties. I still collect news for the ministry. I still drew maps. But now the days were also too short and I often worked till late into the night. I had little time for pleasures and hobbies, for when the Dalai Lama called me, I had to be free. But that was no sacrifice. I was happy in the consciousness that my life had a goal. The hours I spent with my pupil were as instructive for me as they were for him. He taught me a great deal about the history of Tibet and the teachings of Buddha. He was a real authority of these subjects. We often used to argue for hours on religious subjects, and he was convinced that he would succeed in converting me to Buddhism. He told me that he was making a study of books containing knowledge of the ancient mystery by which the body and the soul could be separated. The history of Tibet is full of stories about saints whose spirits used to perform actions hundreds of miles away from their physical bodies. The Dalai Lama was convinced that by virtue of this faith and by performing the prescribed rites he would be able to make things happen in far distant places like Samye. When he had made sufficient progress, he said he would send me there and direct me from Lhasa. I remember saying to him with love, "All right, Kundun, when you can do that, I will become a Buddhist too." Heinrich Harrer, from the 7 Years in Tibet.